My name is Nathan Shorts.
I'm Chris Howell.
And I'm Jim, and this is Topic Lords, the only place on the internet you can hear topics discussed. Nathan, would you like to introduce yourself, or do you have anything to plug?
Yeah, I'm Nathan Shorts. I am the art director and co-owner of Wallride, Minneapolis-based games and creative studio. I don't currently have anything to plug. We haven't announced anything recently, but yeah, you can go and check out a couple games we released last year, Jay and Silent Bob, Mall Brawl, a natively devved NES game, and Elemental's a heavy metal brawler. You can find both of those on Steam, and Mall Brawl on Switch.
Nice.
Wait, was one of those on the NES?
One of those was. I think there are still cartridges available somewhere.
Was that the Jay and Silent Bob game?
Yeah, Jay and Silent Bob.
I remember, unless this is a separate game, I remember seeing a crowdfunding campaign for a Jay and Silent Bob brawler. Was that a different project, or is that?
Yeah. So it's funny. Chronic Blunt Punch was the main game, and that got funded on Fig. And then we were brought in for a sort of side project that was a marketing endeavor that became its own project and is now doing very well. So it's I'm glad I got to be part of that.
Yeah. Is Chronic Blunt Punch still happening?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's in the final stretch, I believe.
Wow. Okay. All right. That's a long development time.
Yeah.
And Chris, would you like to introduce yourself, or do you have anything to plug?
Yeah, my name's Chris Hall. I am a Unity programmer, and I would like to plug USB-C cables because they charge really fast, and you can flip them over, and they still work, which I think is pretty cool.
The symmetry is real nice.
Yeah. And
where were we before that?
Right? That's what I want to know. Also, they're not food, which is, I was thinking of food before.
That's arguable.
Yeah. Like before that, we went through a series of cables that, like, the original USB wasn't symmetrical but looked symmetrical, which is the worst.
Yeah.
Right.
And the ones since then have, like, at least not looked symmetrical. So that's an improvement.
Yeah, the tiny ones look mostly symmetrical, so I don't like those, but we live in the future now. We don't need to worry about that anymore.
Right. USB-C, it's the third one.
It's the third one if you don't count the other ones.
What I don't get about the USB-Cs is there's so many of them that do different things, and I think that's the most confusing thing to me. Is like, yes, we can flip them both ways, but then one has a different power output, and some only charge my controllers, and I need a whole spreadsheet for how many USB-Cs there are out there.
That's a really good point.
I haven't really worried about that. I've just been plugging in, like, I plug in my MacBook power cable to my Switch, and it just seems to work. So
there you go.
What if you plug like USB-C headphones into a Switch dock? Do you hear the power? What happens then? Nobody knows. Somebody knows.
Yeah, you hear a 60 hertz hum. Yeah.
You hear the Flash Gordon theme song.
That makes sense. Yeah, I'm sure they argued for months over what song that would be. It was like, it has to be the Flash Gordon theme. It has to be the one that Queen made.
Otherwise, you don't get the same power from that into your brain. Otherwise,
right?
Yeah, isn't it a thing that, like, painting a car certain colors makes it faster? Like some colors are just faster, like red. So it's like, which theme song is the
the fastest?
Which song played out of the radio is more likely to get you pulled over for speeding?
That's a good question.
Are you ready to start on some topics?
I'm ready.
Yeah, of course.
Nathan, your topic is, are mysteries actually better when you know who done it?
Yes.
That's your answer?
I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Yeah. Yes, I believe so.
What?
Tell me more.
Why?
Yeah. I mean, so I've watched mysteries. Let me clarify. I don't read a lot. So a lot of the mysteries that I partake in are TV shows, and more specifically old TV shows. Poirot, Murder, She Wrote. And then I just started, and I don't know why I hadn't gotten to this until very recently, but I just started watching Columbo. And Columbo was one of the first to popularize letting you know who done it right at the beginning. And I've become quite a fan.
Wow, really? Like in the episode summary at the beginning?
Within the first 10 minutes, you see who done it and how they done it. And yeah, it's completely changed my view of how mysteries should unfold.
That's really bizarre. I'm kind of right there with you, actually, in terms of the conclusion that you've reached. But it's very strange to me that they would be so bold as to say, like, we believe this so strongly, we're just going to put it in our like mainstream TV show. We're going to base our mainstream TV show around revealing the murderer at the very beginning of the show.
Right, exactly. Yeah, because even shows that were around the same time that weren't necessarily mysteries, but cop shows and the like they usually held some of their hand back until the end.
Yeah.
But the way Columbo and a couple of other shows that sort of were influenced by it handled things moving forward, yeah, it was a very interesting way for things to play out where the audience knows everything. And so then the payoff is so different. If you know who done it from the beginning of a mystery, the audience feels like the smart one. Where in a mystery like, you know, a Poirot or even a Sherlock Holmes, you're left in the dark, and then you're like there's a grand reveal at the end in every mystery, but in those you're kind of trying to put the pieces together within like 5 minutes at the end.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you feel like you're insufficient in a way.
I see.
Where if you know who did it right at the beginning, then you feel like you're the detective and you're walking it through it with them.
That's interesting. Yeah. So that definitely like is a different approach to like the stereotype is that people watch these shows in order to see if they could solve the mystery before the reveal.
Right.
Solve it themselves. And I'm not like April and I have been watching a lot of Murder, She Wrote, and I'm not actually convinced that, like, sure, the information is technically there, but I'm not actually convinced that every episode is constructed to be a fair puzzle as well as being a good story.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So the other idea that, like, let's approach it this other way where we simulate the feeling of being the detective by not just showing you what the detective saw, but a little bit more like what the detective is thinking.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But also, like, I will say that this is the first time I've heard of this, so this is not an idea that caught on in the mainstream.
Yeah, I think it popularized for a little bit, but it's still very very unique to Columbo. And, you know, it ran for a long time, so obviously it worked for a certain crowd.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
But yeah, it's also interesting because in Columbo specifically, they position that detective character as kind of an everyman. Characters in the show will find him very unassuming and almost dumb. And so that gives the audience a chance to kind of be the smartest person in the room, which I think is really interesting for a mystery genre.
Right, yeah, that's interesting.
My question is, if the audience knows who done it and how done it, what's the mystery? Or is it just a mystery for Columbo? It's still mystery genre.
That's a good point.
But the mystery isn't for you this time. It's for someone else.
Right, exactly.
Right.
That's kind of cool.
It's known as dramatic irony.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I'm kind of into this idea because my personal relationship with these kinds of shows is that I watch them when I don't want to think too hard, when I kind of want to just zone out.
Sure.
And surprises are antithetical to zoning out. Like, surprises get your attention.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I want like maximal zoning out while watching a show that I haven't seen before, sometimes I'll just look up a plot summary on Wikipedia first.
Oh, interesting.
Interesting.
Like, so I know what's going to happen beat by beat. Otherwise, like, maybe I'll be too tense.
Yeah, that's what my partner does with horror movies. I can definitely see the reasoning for it.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah.
I guess horror movies are kind of a mystery sometimes because you want to know what the monster is and when they're going to get you.
Yeah.
But like actually though, right?
Well, horror movies are, I think, the mystery can be to the viewer, is it going to be the worst possible ending or less worse? Because
Yeah, the mystery is who's going to die.
Yeah.
Right. Because most genres of movies are not willing to really go all in on like, oh, the situation is just totally fucked and everybody's fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But horror movies really will do that.
I think I heard somewhere it's like it's the only genre that is like often willing to have the bad ending.
Yep.
But it's interesting that like a reveal in a mystery is like kind of mind-blowing or cool, or like, whoa, I never would have thought of that because it's so contrived. Whereas in horror, usually like the reveal of the monster, like what, as soon as you start learning about the rules of the monster or the world, or like, you start being able to kind of expect things, then it gets less scary, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point. If you knew who the monster was from the very beginning, and all the rules that dictated how they were monster, it wouldn't be a horror movie anymore.
That's interesting.
That's true. Have there been any movies that have? Because I know there's games where you can play as the monster, and then you like alternate with your friends or something. Have movies done that? I don't know.
I think I can't think of any offhand, but I think if they do, I'm almost inclined to think that it would become something else entirely.
Yeah.
There's a movie that came out, I think last year, and it was doing the run of a couple of film festivals. It was called Psycho Goreman, and I won't give a whole lot away, but at least the early synopsis is there's a intergalactic world destroyer monster being.
Whoa.
He either crash lands or is broken out of like a extraterrestrial prison on Earth, and there's this one gem that can control him. But within the first couple minutes, like a 7-year-old girl gets a hold of the gem, and it completely changes the tone, and it's no longer a horror movie. It's still very campy and somewhat gross, but it completely flips the script of what a monster is. And I'm wondering if that's
That sounds so fun.
Yeah, right. And I'm wondering if the same thing would happen every time you take the fear away from a monster by giving the control to the audience or someone more unassuming than the monster themselves.
Right.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Now I'm just thinking about this.
Let's all just sit in silence for a while.
Contemplate on how we write our scripts.
The last mystery thing I saw, which was the first I'd seen in a very long time, was Knives Out.
Oh, yeah.
And it was lots of fun, even though I felt like a lot of the plot twists were just like totally wild, but so fun.
Well, there you go. That's a perfect example, because you knew who done it from the very beginning. There were obviously some twists, but generally speaking, you at least had some idea of what was going on.
Yeah, I guess. I definitely kept blowing my mind over and over again. I was just like, what? Now this and now that. But I guess that's what makes it good. But for that one specifically, I definitely felt like there's absolutely no way in hell I could have figured out any of it.
Yeah, it's almost like they're doing both at the same time.
Right.
Where they showed you half the hand at the beginning.
Right.
Even a story that reveals like the ending first, there's still the rest of the story to get through. Like even if it's just the moment to moment beats.
Right.
Like the mystery can still be, how do they get from the start of the story to the ending that you know about?
If somebody spoils like a show or a movie for you, have they just converted it into that kind of show or movie?
If you've seen the movie before, is it now this subverted genre by default?
Yeah, I was going to bring this up, that like I enjoy watching movies a second time sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like this might be my personal, how I approach media, but so much of what I want out of media is texture and tone.
Okay.
And that stuff is just kind of irrespective of plot a lot of the time.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, my partner and I watch movies primarily when we cook. We have a small CRT VCR thing in the kitchen, and yeah, it's. I think texture is a really interesting way of putting that, where we kind of want the vibe of a certain movie to be going on around us, as opposed to really caring about what's actually going on in the film.
Right. And even if you do know what's going to happen, there's still, a pleasure in watching a well-constructed story play out.
Right.
Right.
And then there's the aspect where like there's all these details that you just notice different ones every time.
Yep.
I once heard music described as mental air conditioning. It's there, but maybe you're also doing something else. Like you're just there for the texture of it.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's very similar when I kind of think back to how I interact with these films. As I'm cooking or doing whatever. Just like when you're listening to music and you start singing along to the lyrics, I catch myself, saying the film line for line.
That's fun.
Yeah.
It's very similar in just a different kind of medium.
Yeah. I guess, Jim, you mentioned earlier that like if you want to relax while watching something, sometimes you'll read the plot summary of it. Have you considered, instead of doing that, just watching it before you watch it?
Sometimes I don't have time.
Okay.
Sometimes I just hadn't, like I planned to do it, but I never got around to it before I watched it the second time.
Yeah, right. Yeah, when you plan to watch something, you gotta plan the first watch too. It's an important thing that
right. Yeah,
it's hard to factor into the Google Calendar.
But hopefully I'll get it next time.
Yeah, or the next 2 times, depending on how you look at it.
Right. Are we ready for another topic?
I think so.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Chris, your topic is renting apartments that come with weird artifacts.
Okay, so I just have two examples of this, and they both involve an Ankh, which is like there's nothing inherently weird about that symbol other than the fact that like I don't know why I was there. Anyway, so first is my old apartment that I used to live at. One day out in the bushes, we found this like huge wooden Ankh just like in there, and this is like right outside the front door. And my roommate and I, we didn't really think twice about it. We were just like, well, that's weird, and left it there. But then his partner moved in eventually, and then she saw it and she was like, no, I don't, this is weird. So she moved it. She like, I don't know what she did with it. I don't know if she threw it away or what. But then she had like a string of bad luck the entire week after she did that, which is just like,
uh-oh,
whoa. And then my younger brother, who I visited at his apartment like a couple weeks ago. It was like a fully furnished apartment that he rented from somebody. Also has an Ankh hanging on the door, and then also has like the head of some animal like right above that on the door as a knocker, and it looks like kind of mildly unsettling. And there's also this painting in the house which is labeled something like "Bad Pope Hat Guy" or something, and it's just like this man with the hat, kind of like weirdly distorted, with like blood in his teeth, and this painting like hangs right above where my brother sleeps. So
wait, and this painting came with the apartment?
It came with the apartment, and it has to stay with the apartment when he leaves. So
it's part of the structural integrity.
Exactly.
It's okay. I was gonna say it's on the lease, but yours is better.
I mean, it pretty much is. It's a furnished apartment, so like it's implied on the lease. It's just not mentioned by name, hopefully.
But you could like cover it with a towel.
Yeah, but that's the question.
Oh yeah, if the lease mentions it, but it probably has a name for the guy.
Yeah, no, it literally says those words. It says those words on the painting, like "Bad Pope Hat Guy." So it
Lucius.
Could be. Yeah.
Well, they've probably flipped it, and it's the right way around again.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's like if you try to cover it with the towel, what happens to you?
Do you get covered with a towel?
That's karma, baby.
Yeah, you lie down underneath this thing. The towel's going to fall from the painting onto your face.
Yep.
Pope Hat Guy just covered you with the towel.
Tit for tat.
Do me a favor for the potentially uncultured. What is an Ankh?
Oh, it's an Egyptian hieroglyph, I think. But the reason that I know what it's called and what it looks like is because there's one in the game Spelunky and Spelunky 2 that you get that can like raise you from the dead once. And then so my brother plays Spelunky 2 all the time. So we always like joke about the Ankh on the front of his door.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Have y'all ever like had anything like that? Like maybe a car that comes with some like random things that you didn't expect, or a house or a storage unit or something?
Yeah, I had an apartment in outer Richmond in San Francisco, and it was I guess a converted basement. It was between two restaurants, but it was very old, and there was a thing in the wall with a knob, but it had been painted over so many times that I wasn't sure if it was a drawer or something.
What the heck?
And then one day I decided to pull it as hard as I could, and a fold out, I'd say maybe it was a foot high, a fold out stool
What?
fell out. And I looked it up, and apparently that was a thing for a while.
It's a Murphy stool.
Yeah, if you had a phone on the wall, that was a way that you could kind of relieve yourself from having to stand and talk on the phone. But it was such a bizarre thing to find in this sort of dilapidated old apartment. And I was really convinced that I was going to find a hand in there or something, just something god awful. But it ended up being just a tiny stool right outside of my bathroom. In a way, it was an artifact. It was certainly an antique.
Totally.
I guess another apartment I had came with a porcelain hand.
Okay. Good.
Was the hand was it like attached? Was it part of the wall, or was it just lying on the floor?
Yeah. How big was it?
It was about half the size of a normal hand. It was just sitting on a shelf.
Jeez.
I think it was for rings.
Oh.
It certainly didn't have any on it.
Okay. It wasn't like it used to be a doll hand. Well, I mean, still was a doll hand, but no longer attached to a doll.
That could have been. Right.
That sounds like an artifact to me. I would be scared of the porcelain hand.
Porcelain is already a scary word. Then add hand to it, and you got a recipe for disaster.
Exactly. What did you do with it? Like, did you use it? Did you just put it on the highest shelf that you could find?
So we kept it, and it now...
You keep it in the toilet tank.
You're right. Just completely freak out the plumber whenever we come on. But yeah, it's now, those like googly monsters with the wiggly arms that you could put on your fingers?
Yeah.
They're in like quarter machines. There are just a bunch of those on the porcelain hand now.
I love that.
That's good.
Just completely take its power away.
Yeah, I don't have anything good. Like, I'm trying to think. I've lived in a bunch of apartments too, and I can't think of a good artifact. I'm thinking about a hypothetical situation that may have happened to somebody where I had a friend who just came into a jar of mercury. Like, he had this jar with like 2 inches of mercury at the bottom, and he'd like to do this trick where you would like float a penny on top of it.
That's cool.
Oh.
What the heck?
It's a neat trick. And at one point, he had just gotten into a new relationship, and his girlfriend was very upset that he had a jar of mercury and wanted him to get rid of it. So he just like went to the common area of his apartment building and like put it on a bookshelf.
Okay.
And then like a week later, it was gone. So for somebody in living there, their apartment came with a jar of mercury.
That's how it's always passed along.
Yeah.
You have a jar of mercury, then your roommate or your partner gets mad at you for having it, and then you leave it, and that's the chain of passing mercury along from person to person.
Yeah. I never asked how he got it. I should.
He found it in the common area.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, no doubt.
It makes you wonder, like, how many people did the jar of mercury pass before him? It's like, why? Why would that even be there? Why would it be anywhere?
Yeah. What are the chances that that jar of mercury has mercury that Hitler breathed? It's just one atom of Hitler mercury in there.
And it's been in the common area ever since.
Are we ready for another topic?
Yes.
Yeah.
My topic is Monster Island was a play-by-mail MMO written in Quick Basic that ran from 1989 to 2017.
To 2017?
Yeah, it ran until at least 2017. This is something I read about as part of Aaron Reed's 50 Years of Text Games series, which he's writing about one game a week, starting, I think, from 1971 with Oregon Trail. And he's up to 1989 now. And it's a really, really good series. But this is my favorite so far, not my favorite game, because that was probably Zork that he's written about, but my favorite like thing that I've learned about from this series was about Monster Island. And he has like an example of a play where like you send the inputs that you send by mail to the operator, who then like keys your inputs into a computer and then runs the result through a laser printer and mails it back to you.
Wow.
And apparently this thing had thousands of players, and there was like a little newsletter. It's just fascinating that like the idea of a massively multiplayer game that could exist, like it's computerized. It would have to be computerized to be runnable at that scale. But it was before you could actually before the internet, basically. Like you couldn't realistically call up a BBS and play this game.
I mean, the only way I can kind of describe it in my only having had the internet brain is you in a video game being pen pals.
Wow. I like that.
Right, yeah.
Which is a very interesting concept and a very slow one.
Yeah, how many frames per second is that one?
Pretty slow. I think a turn took about a week.
I saw this topic in the bucket when I was looking before, and I was like, that sounds really cool. But I didn't even register that it was an MMO. I feel like that makes it really interesting.
Yeah, are you communicating with other players within this too?
Right. Are you mailing them directly?
So I don't that's a great question. I don't think you could talk. I'm looking at the top half of a card that describes your turn, and there's nothing in there for like saying things. But in the example turn they gave, you could yell, and what that does is that it basically, what it says to you is that you're yelling that you are over here. So presumably players that are nearby would hear you and could choose to approach you. But then would you have to like stay there? Would you have to like just hang out for a week, like, and waste a turn to wait to see if somebody would show up would come to you? Because like if you moved too, then you'd move out of communication with them. You'd move out of the square you said, here I am in.
That is really interesting.
Yeah.
It reminds me of I don't know who of you have played Death Stranding, but when Sam Porter Bridges yells "Hey" into the abyss, I feel like it's very similar.
Is that a multiplayer game?
It is technically. Everything's connected by a network, and you can like leave messages for other people. But the only real like vocal interaction you have with the environment is to just yell "Hey" into the nothingness.
That's cool.
And do you occasionally just hear someone yelling "Hey"?
I don't know. I mean, I've played it with headphones, and there's, I think, intentional like ambient glitchiness. So I'm not sure if I've ever heard a "Hey," but I like to think I have.
That's cool.
Yeah.
You can like build things that other players can use or something like that, right?
Yeah, you can communicate physically by leaving things for other people, yeah.
Okay.
According to this paragraph here, in late 1992, the Monster Island Journal reported that 50 monsters have successfully performed the disciple rite and can now cast spells.
Oh, wow.
And this is out of thousands of players after 3 years.
Wait, so the players are monsters, or is this like non-player monsters?
The players are monsters, yeah. The players are all monsters.
Okay.
And then in 1996, 7 years after the game launched, the journal announced that one of the players has crossed the Crystal Hills barrier, which is a range of mountains that was seemingly impassable. And I am not sure, although it's actually kind of irrelevant from a player perspective, whether or not those are like updates to the game.
Right. Whether
or not it was possible to cross the Crystal Hills barrier. But it just reminds me that like live updated games and games that can only be played online are the only games that can really truly remain mysterious for a long time.
Right. Because mystery can be added, I guess, and you might not even know.
Yeah.
Can that happen with a show? Can you add episodes? I guess you could just do a new season, but it's not the same.
I mean, TV shows are live updated. Like, you just keep adding content.
You could just air everything out of order.
Right.
There's a show that my partner and I watched called Happy Endings, and the first season played so poorly with a test audience that they decided to air the first 5 episodes out of order.
Oh.
And so you really don't know what's going on for the first season.
And did that improve things?
I don't know, but it got 2 more seasons.
Wait, so like was the test audience's problem that it was too obvious what was happening?
I think they didn't like the relationship of the main characters.
That is odd.
Yeah, so they prioritized the side characters for the first 5 scrambled episodes.
Oh, sure. So like you give people the impression that that it's about these other guys, and then like you don't like the people who are introduced later, but that's okay because the show's about these other guys.
Yes. Yeah, but chronologically it makes absolutely no sense. So there's a whole mystery there that might be if you air everything out of order, nobody knows when you slip a new episode in.
Yeah, that's true. Or where it goes in the in the ordering. I wonder. Yeah, is that good show puzzle design? I don't know what the word would be for that. Like, probably that is actually like something that you could reasonably expect somebody to be like, where does this fall in the chronological order of things?
Yeah.
More than like trying to figure out how to twist some weird detail, I guess.
Right.
It almost sounds like, some people have said that we're in a golden age of television or whatever. I'm curious to see what the data age of television is going to be, and it might be something similar to that, where nothing makes sense and everything's out of order, and they keep slipping things in just to throw you off.
What if we live in the world of live updated everything because internet. What if you rewatched a movie because you're like, I know what happens in this movie and I want to watch it again and get a little more detail. But then there are scenes that you've just never seen before. Every time you do that.
Instead of rewatching it, I'd just check the patch notes.
Yeah. I guess they would still be written.
Oh yeah, would the patch notes be like, it would be a podcast? The patch notes podcast.
Like a collage. I don't know. I don't know if it's just the idea that sounds kind of interesting, but they did Bandersnatch a few years ago, and that was like, that was just choosing branching paths, but it was like kind of neat that they were able to do it to that level of production quality. I think like something either like could be changed like that, or maybe like every time you watch it, it's like a little bit different, even if you have no actual control over how. I don't know. Maybe there's something there.
Yeah. Well, and if you watch Bandersnatch without clicking anything, you get that.
Oh, really? Oh.
It will default to a series of inputs that tell an interesting story.
That's cool.
I was thinking about like, what would it take to make Bandersnatch into a live game that's being constantly updated. And like the thing about using Hollywood's infrastructure to make a video game is that everybody there is expecting to it's either a TV model where they're scheduled to work for like 6 months every year on this show, and it's a steady job, or they're like, let's get together for 1 month and make this one thing, and it's just a contract gig that expires, and then you go off and do something else. Bandersnatch was made like a movie, but they totally could have instead decided to make it like a TV show. I'm trying to think of like, just in terms of gameplay design, the idea of constantly growing like a binary tree would be, in terms of playability, it would be a huge mess. Like every time we add content, we're just adding new nodes to this tree, and you have to explore to find the new stuff. I think people would revolt at that idea, or they just wouldn't take part. I think you would have to provide like even Bandersnatch as it is kind of huge.
Yeah.
Like it's really, really unwieldy to try to play it as a game.
At least when I played it, I felt compelled to see all of it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the right word. I felt like I had to see all of it to like get everything out of it. But like by the end, it felt like a chore, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, no, that's not a good way to approach that. Whatever it is,
Right.
it's not amenable to completionism. There's like something like 8 hours of movie in there.
Right. Yeah.
So, and a lot of it is really samey. A lot of it is just like you go through the same footage, like or extremely similar footage to try to find the nugget of new stuff.
Sure. Right. Yeah. But that's the funny thing, right? Is it's sometimes similar. And so thinking about like live patching a movie, you're like, this movie's really good, except I noticed in the lunch scene, everyone looks about a year and a half older.
Well, maybe the patch is just deep faking new faces on everybody every time.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, maybe all the live updates do is just change the faces on every actor in every scene.
Now this movie stars Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
No wait, now it's Johnny Depp.
Now it's Brad Pitt with one T.
Yeah, right.
I like that idea. That's fun.
Just utilize the tools we already have. We don't have to invent anything new anymore.
Just invent the T remover.
Yeah.
What does Brad Pitt with one T look like? Like, how can you tell?
He has one cup in his hand.
Oh, instead of the two that he usually has.
Yeah.
Which they usually crop it out. That's why it's not such a unsettling thing.
Yes.
Hold on. I just think about Brad Pitt with one T for another second. Or like a movie called Oops, All Tom Hanks or whatever. Okay. I think that's it. I think that was it.
Okay. All right. I'm glad we got that. I'm glad we got that out there.
Me too.
So for this topic, we're going to be watching No Tengo Dinero by, I don't know how to pronounce that band name.
Rigiera.
Rigiera.
I think they're Italian.
All right, I'm going to count down from 3, and on 0 we hit play.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, play.
Wait, you didn't say 0? Just kidding.
Oh, this.
Whoa.
This. I love the look of this video because it looks like it's a demo scene production, except it's from 1982.
Yes.
So it's all like hand animated. Although, like, do you think this is like really early CG? Like some of it?
I don't think so. I think they did all this by hand because you'll see in a little bit they like a lot of this is rotoscoped.
Oh.
Yeah, but like, what about that floor?
Yeah. What is that?
That could be some sort of early like film VFX where they have that on like a blue screen or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it film? What is it of? There's also this blue glow mist effect. I didn't watch this at all. I have no idea what's happening. There's now 2 men looking at the camera. But yeah, there's this like blue mist that I keep seeing.
I wonder if they want money.
Oh,
I don't think they do.
one of them is dancing very slowly.
Was this the origin of the Carlton dance?
It may be. I think we can tell what the style of animation was, the method of animation was by the frame rate. Like these guys are not running at the full 30 frames per second.
Yeah.
I think they're running at half of that.
Yeah, it looks
So like half, which is normal. That's like even Disney does that.
like 12 frames per second animation, right?
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that floor was going at the full 30.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think that might have been the CG animation.
Right. This is like the frames are happening slow enough that I can count them, you know?
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
The scene transitions are great.
Yes.
Yeah. Was this late enough to be like to take advantage of like Video Toaster?
Describe to me what that is.
You know what? I think it must not have been. So Video Toaster was I think it was a hardware add-on, like a hardware software package for the Amiga.
Okay.
That did visual effects like these transitions we're seeing. And they were like, it was very popular with people doing like in like TV studios trying to, you know, make TV shows with effects like this and titling.
Yeah, I mean, it must have been because they're using it just so much. It must have been brand new.
Yeah, or maybe there was maybe it was a predecessor. It's just a 3D animated prism that's just like it's actually just a a single frame of a prison that someone's rotating by hand.
This reminds me of my first year in Flash.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Nice. Oh, look at these cool Cyclops glasses. Is this virtual reality?
Yeah, but only for them. Only they're seeing amazing 3D landscapes.
Yeah.
We're just seeing some rotoscoped bullshit.
Well, don't be mean about it. Just kidding.
Those dudes, those rotoscoped dudes, like Flash could definitely have like taken video of people dancing and made that animation real easy, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's funny. All of this is obviously like it was top of the line at the time, and now it's paltry by current standards. And
right, but only because like Adobe or whoever initially made, I think Macromedia or whatever it was, who initially made Flash, they looked at this music video, this one specifically, and were like, we need to make sure we can do every single effect that's in this video.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, even the shading has the outline, which was a very common thing in early Flash. So
right.
Yeah.
This is a pretty cool video, though. I want to know what the significance is of there's like this shape that keeps showing up, which is like an orange ball with like two little like not legs, like little like sevens sticking out of it. One is...
Oh, Charles, you think there's purpose in any of this video?
Well, I don't know. I can't hear any of it. So, but the thing on the bottom looks like a circuit board, maybe? No, maybe?
Yeah.
Bunch of pasta? Probably a circuit board.
Yeah, but colored brown. Oh, Video Toaster was 1990. So this predates it by 8 years.
Oh, wow.
Well, I do think that the only words in this whole music video are "No tengo dinero."
Okay.
So I at least know what their position is.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, the 7 things, it's like green and pink. I wonder if that represents money.
Or not money.
Or, yeah, sorry, not money. Exactly.
There's like the edges of the cube are like a Mondrian painting.
Whoa. Now there's a boat.
No, there's real footage.
Yeah. This is cool. The boat's name is Rex. It's big.
Is Riguera anti-capitalist? Is that what's going on here in all this subtext?
I mean, back in the 80s, even people who called themselves anti-capitalist were, by today's standards, pretty capitalist.
That's true.
That's growth, baby.
That's right.
Are those go-karts? Are they tiny tanks? What is happening?
They're tiny tanks.
Whoa.
One of them has to bear witness and the other one refuses to.
At the top of the video, there's all these like solid colored shapes, like triangles that are orange, yellow, and red, and like little tiny green squares.
The sort of thing that people associate with like the early 90s, like that sort of texture pattern. So this apparently was the source of inspiration for that stuff too.
So it predates the Video Toaster. This was the inspiration for the Video Toaster, which was inspiration for Macromedia Flash.
And also the loading screens from Toe Jam and Earl.
And, of course.
Oh, yeah. This was the forerunner.
No Tango Dinero. It's been here the whole time. I didn't know.
They actually dug this out of the depths of the ocean.
They actually invented circuit boards, and that's the
what you see at the bottom.
The things that, what you're seeing at the bottom is like the first example of a circuit board, and then people turned it into. They realized you could actually do real electronics with it.
Wow.
Yep. People learned what a cube was from this.
Yeah.
They always talk about how like technology gets invented like from the military or from space because that's where all the money is, and then it goes into like normal civilian lives. Is there technology that started as a music video? Like I'm trying to think of stuff. All I can think of is like those rooms that can like spin all the way around. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, where it's like a shipping container size room and it's just on some motors so it can rotate. I've never used one of those.
Yeah.
So you mean the old virtual reality vans that you had in the mall?
Yeah.
I'm assuming you mean like when Fred Astaire like dances on the floor, then he's dancing on the wall.
Yeah.
And then he's dancing on the ceiling. Like I think those existed before the 80s.
That sounds like a Chaplin thing.
Yeah, that sounds like something Charlie Chaplin would invent. I don't know about invented, but I do remember that like in the early 90s, a lot of people like talking loudly about how music videos were doing more interesting tech than film was.
Whoa.
I know there were music videos doing like interesting morphing effects, and it may just be like their relative production cycles. Like music videos take less time to make, so if an interesting tech exists and is proved to work, like you can churn out a music video to use it much more quickly than a movie.
Right. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Wasn't it? It was a Michael Jackson video that did like the first like pretty realistic human morphing into an animal thing.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. I can't remember the name of it though.
Did that inspire Animorphs?
Like certainly the concept, like the mainstream concept of morphing as a cool new fad, certainly that did.
Yeah. I've never read an Animorph book. I've only like picked them up in the elementary school library and flipped the corners to like see the animation. And I feel like it's a very specific like method to change between two pictures. So I wonder if somebody just figured that out and we're like, hey, look at this. Let's put this on everything.
Yeah, like a Magic Eye. Like if there was a squad of teen crime solvers that were entirely based on Magic Eye. It was just my wife's birthday right as we record this, and one of the presents I gave her was a signed print of a Animorphs book cover.
Really? That's cool.
Like the guy who did all the art for those covers, which is a very distinctive art style. Like
yeah,
is selling signed prints on Etsy.
That is really cool. That sounds like a great gift.
She liked it.
Yeah, and good for them for continuing to make money off of that too.
Yeah, no, I was happy to support that guy.
Also, happy birthday to your wife.
Thank you. I'll pass it on.
Yeah.
She'll actually no, I won't pass it on, and she'll find out if she listens to this episode. And this video has ending credits. So did we actually just secretly watch a short film?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Also, it said the animation was one person. Okay.
Yeah, that seems about right, honestly.
Special video effects.
They reused a lot of those frames.
Creativity and direction. Yeah, they did. There's definitely sections there that were they did the Cyclops glasses again.
Yeah. Well, there is a director's cut if anybody ever wants to watch that.
That one does the Cyclops glasses 3 times.
There's also an extended cut.
Oh, that's what I was talking about.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, the extended cut was 5 minutes long. And so instead of being 12 minutes on the Topic Lords episode, it would have been 20. One of these days, we're going to do a
movie?
A 15-minute music. We'll do a thriller. And it's just going to be the entire episode of Topic Lords.
You could fill up the whole episode by doing Xanadu. Isn't that whole movie technically a music video?
What?
Let's see. Xanadu official music video. That's 11 minutes.
Close enough.
All right. Are we ready for another topic?
Yes. Wait. I'm still cooking on like a 15-minute video, and that's the entire episode of Topic Lords. Like, what if that really was, or it's like you have your topics from the bucket, but then you also have topics from the like ambient, weirdly slow down silent music video, which is in some ways similar. It's the texture that you were talking about earlier. It's The
idea of we're being inspired to speak by these text topics that people have proposed is not so different from being inspired to speak more granularly from images in front of our eyes.
Yeah.
Whoa, Scoob.
That's very true. Talking about that texture and how we absorb media, I think we'd all have to watch it at that speed once before.
Or read a plot summary, but every letter has been multiplied 4 times. Is that the same effect? It would definitely take me more than 4 times as long to read.
Yeah, that'd be tricky.
line spacing is.
Oh yeah, line spacing. That's what it is. Just like in high school. Like, this paper is not long enough. Let me add a little bit more line spacing.
Yeah. Just rephrase sentences to be longer until every paragraph ends with a word on a line by itself.
I saw the Galaxy Brain. I'm going to describe a meme right now, and it's probably going to hurt to listen to. So it's the Galaxy Brain meme, but the first one was like when you're writing a paper in high school or college, and the first one was like can't, and then cannot with no space, and then can space not, and then the last one was I am unable to can. Just like when you need those words. Anyway, I'm so sorry that I just did that to you.
No, it's good. That's this is the hot content. This is the content the Topic Lords listeners crave.
You can see it in your mind's ear, I guess. Wait, does your mind have an ear? It has to.
Are you going to get full Galaxy Brain right now?
Mine does. One of the things I learned making this show is that I don't have a mind's eye, but I do have a wicked mind's ear. My mind's ear can hear hella well.
Interesting. So you can like imagine songs playing, but you can't imagine. Tell us more.
I can't visualize.
You probably actually talked about this. Never mind. Sorry.
I don't know if I've actually talked about this on the show. Like during the episode where we talked about it, I was like, oh yeah, I probably visualize about average, about as well as anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And then I actually went and like took one of the other guests linked to a test, and it asked very specific questions about like, try to visualize this. Which of these do you see in your mind's eye? And like of the multiple choice questions, it was like I gave the truest answer I could. And I realized that I can't see shit in there.
Dang. Maybe it's just dark.
Like I can't visualize at all.
Whoa.
Yeah, I'm sort of similar. And that's, I think, why I chose the sort of art path that I did, because I can't visualize it like in my brain. I have lists, and then things don't actually materialize until I draw them. So yeah, it's I think one of the reasons why I started to gravitate towards art direction, where I can list how things will work, and then I ask somebody else to draw it.
That's cool.
But I've seen you draw things. Like you can totally do it.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. As soon as it leaves my brain and I understand and I can put the pieces together, then it's there. But before that, it's kind of this blurry hodgepodge in there, like no color, basically just an outline of an abbreviation of something.
Right.
I always had this like dumb assumption that folks who do visual art must have such powerful mind's eyes. So thank you for just flipping that right on its head, because yeah, that was probably a stupid thing to assume.
I mean, I know plenty that have like photo-identic memory or whatever the word is. And then I also know plenty that have nothing going on up there. So it's really hard to say.
There's no answer. Also, like when you're photo-identic memory, I was trying to think of the word I knew for it, and into my head, into my head popped the phrase photogenic memory, which is interesting. It's like, wow, I only remember things like even better than they actually were. I don't know, just learning about aphantasia like a while ago made me think of this one episode of a podcast called Welcome to Night Vale that's really fun. They had one segment where they were just like asking you to imagine your like ultimate dream vacation beach home, and like asking about all these details. What does this look like? What does that look like? And then at the end of the segment, they're just like, thanks. We've come into your mind and taken it and now live there. And it was like something funny like that. I just like, it was like a really fun way to use the like, I don't know. It's kind of weird that you can think of things in your mind, whether it's visual or auditory or anything else.
Now, a question for you, Jim. Does your mind's ear live right in the center of your forehead where most people's eyes are?
Huh. I think probably I audiate like right in the center right between my ears, because I always listen to things through headphones.
Oh, sure.
And that's where the center channel is.
How do you get the center channel headphone all the way in there?
It's, I've got one on one ear and one on the other ear. On an average, they're in the middle.
I got these Bluetooth headphones kind of recently where it's like two separate, like each one is like there's no connection between them. and sometimes one of them will like get slightly delayed from the other one, and it has this really weird effect where suddenly it sounds like everything's spinning around really fast, like the sound is. It's really weird, but kind of cool.
Yeah, that is weird.
It's slightly cool, slightly nauseating, to be honest.
Last episode, people were trying to convince me I should get Bluetooth headphones, and that's exactly the sort of glitch I don't want in my life.
You just need ones that have a wire, or none, because you have a good mind's ear anyway. So
right. Well, yeah, like I don't need to listen to anything.
Exactly. You know what it sounds like. You can imagine it.
That's right. Yeah.
You have an audio eidetic memory?
No, I don't. But I do have a pretty good memory for music that I've heard.
That's cool.
Are we ready to do another topic?
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Chris, your topic is procrastinating because if I do anything, I feel like I'll have to do everything.
Yeah. Okay, just tell me, y'all, if this feels normal. I have a list of things that I like definitely need to do at some point in the next however many weeks, and then like an even longer list below that of just like things that I kind of want to do. And like anytime I look at it, I don't even want to start doing any of it, because then I'm like, what? When do I stop? When am I done? There's no way to do just one of these things. I have to do all of it. And I don't know. I just end up not closing the list and saying, let's not look at that anymore.
I definitely experienced that. I think maybe part of it is like a sort of like weird roundabout way of self-preservation, where like you see too many things on a list and you know that's going to potentially drive you into the ground.
Yeah.
So trying to avoid it, is, I think, in a way, trying to save yourself from hitting that total exhaustion point.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the phenomenon that happens for me is that I know I have a bunch of things that I need to do, and that doing any one of them means I'm failing to do all the others.
Interesting.
And so I end up not doing anything.
Yeah.
Which is I'm also failing to do it, but at least I'm not working to fail.
Yeah.
And so in order to get anything done in my life, I kind of have to deliberately forget about all my other responsibilities.
That's pretty interesting. How do you do that?
I mean, I have self-diagnosed ADHD, and so if I can start focusing on something, then I'll usually stay focused for a while. So that's not so hard. It's just kind of a mental switch that I have to flip.
Yeah. Your mind switch.
Your mind ear and your mind switch live right next to each other.
Yeah, they're right. And you really got to watch where you put your fingers.
My mind mousetrap.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff in there next to the mind onk too, which like you don't want to touch because it's maybe bad luck. You're not sure. It came with the place.
Came with the brain.
I'm trusting that thing to bring me back to life after I die.
Yeah, so you can't, don't knock it down. Yeah, part of what I was thinking of this too is sometimes, like maybe on a weeknight after work, I actually will be like, okay, I'm going to do stuff today. I'm going to, do some stuff and then feel productive and good and be happy. And then I'll start doing stuff on the list, and I'll do stuff and it feels good. And then I just do it until I go to sleep. And then I'm like, shit, I didn't do anything fun today. That sucked. I don't want to touch this list ever again.
I mean, that's the balance you got to strike, right? Of like, you can continue to be productive forever, but at what potential cost? I mean, I was very much like that in college, where I was a bit of a workaholic, and even into the beginning of my career, it became clear to me as I started continuing down that path that, realizing I didn't have a whole lot of people around me anymore.
Yeah.
Things were kind of moving on without me in a way. It was certainly something that started to become more apparent, where like, if I prioritize all of this, what seems like very logical to-dos,
mm-hmm.
what am I potentially missing out on that is fun and spontaneous and not on the list? That works, but what am I potentially limiting myself to? As someone who in a way tells stories for a living, how many stories am I not absorbing anymore? I've started striking a better balance, but it's interesting.
You could just put, watch a movie on your list.
But what if that goes on your list, but then, oops, you didn't get around to it, and then now it's been on your list for 6.5 months, and you don't remember what movie it was.
Like every game I've ever bought.
Yeah. Oh, that's too real. I don't think I've played any of the games that I got for Christmas yet, like that I bought during the Steam Winter Sale. Stuff to look forward to. That's a different list. I'm not so worried about that list.
Shaw, you have summer sale to look forward to.
Oh no! Oh, and it's coming up. We're much closer to the summer sale than to the winter sale. I better move that list to the other list then.
In a more recent example of this sort of dilemma, my family and I are moving to Minneapolis very soon. And
congrats!
I set a date for thank you. I set a date for the movers to come, and we got sort of inadvertently paralyzed by the procrastination of it all. Because especially when you're moving across multiple states, you start to see just how much you own,
right,
and how much needs to be packed and how much needs to be done, and that alone can be paralyzing. And so the procrastination really kicked into high gear. I don't think I mentioned this to y'all, but I got a call this morning. Well, towards noon, that our movers decided that they were going to come tomorrow instead of this weekend, and so we have no more choice to procrastinate. And I think that's an interesting sort of flip side to it. Is as soon as you see that there is no more option, I think the natural instinct is to stop procrastinating.
Right.
You
get this like shock of, okay, now I have to do all of this because it has to.
That's always been, my last resort as a non-neurotypical person, assuming that I am, is that like if when push comes to shove, I'll put the time in, but that really only works like if the deadline is like, it doesn't work if there's like a year's worth of work left to do and I have a year left.
Yeah.
Right.
It only works if like there's a day's work left to do and I have a day.
Right.
It has to feel imminent.
Yeah, your animal instincts start to take over.
Yeah.
And it's kind of how I've felt as a parent too. Like there are always things that I kind of procrastinate on, but that almost lizard brain kicks in when I'm like, oh yeah, this human needs to get fed. I'm not going to procrastinate that anymore.
Right.
How's your kid doing?
Good. Yeah. It's pretty wild. He's been drawing pretty consistently over the past couple of months.
Oh wow, how old?
He'll turn 2 in August, so about 2 months away.
Cool, very cool. Does he see you draw?
He doesn't, because I'm on a tablet all day. We have a dry erase board that's about his height, and so he'll draw on that. I'm actually pretty shocked. He draws pretty immaculate circles and lines, and he just started drawing smiley faces.
Oh,
wow!
So as an artist parent, I'm a pretty proud pop.
That's great. Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
I think it's almost by circumstance, because of when he was born and because of what's gone on over the past year. His gross motor skills haven't developed quite in the same way because he's been in a house for.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And so his fine motor has hit light speed. I think if I asked him to do a foot race with another a toddler of the same age, he'd probably lose. But he can literally draw circles around a lot of people. So
that's really interesting and cute.
Very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny what can happen when you're kind of put into sort of self-isolation, what you start gravitating towards.
True for adults too.
Yeah, definitely.
That's all the time we have for Topic Lords. Nathan, if this is something that you want, where can people find you on the internet?
I am on Twitter and Instagram at Nathan Shorts. no caps, no spaces. I'm not on there often, but I do post art maybe once a year. Otherwise, I'm working on NDA stuff for Wallride. You can find us at Wallride Games on Twitter. And we post announcements when we got them.
Did you also, the skateboard company, does that you two Live Rad Skateboards?
No, but we do partner with Thomas a lot. He actually did our merch last year.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we try to scratch everybody's backs that help us out. So,
and Chris, if this is something that you want, where can people find you on the internet?
Sure, I'm on Twitter occasionally at @MrChrisLHall.
All right, thanks so much for being on.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Jim. This is the audio I append to every episode of Topic Lords. Congratulations to our newly anointed lords. If you'd like more people to hear the show, you can tell your friends about it, or rate and review us on whatever podcast service you use. You can add content to the Topic Bucket by emailing topicbucket@topiclords.com. You can contribute to our Patreon at patreon.com/topiclords. Patrons get episodes a week early, and you get access to the Topic Lords Discord, where you can discuss topics with all the lords that hang out in there. See you next episode.